King Sombra, slave driver. Well, that sends a pretty picture, doesn't it? So yeah, King Sombra. He's a bit of a weird friend. On the plus side, he does start at 4 power and only has 3 cost, and he can get bigger. But on the other hand, you're losing a friend every turn. And typically, for 1 power, that's not going to be worth a whole lot. So, Summer has a lot of potential to just set you back a lot more than he's actually going to provide anything for you. And if the opponent frightens him or dismisses him or does anything to him, really, he's suddenly, you've lost a lot of resources. So, how can you use him then? Well, one trick is, of course, to use Sonata Dusk. Sonata is currently the only pink card that can borrow friends until end of turn. All of the other ones are until end of score phase or until end of face off. But Sonata specifies turn, and so long as you process the triggers in the correct order, you can have Sombra enlist the friend that Sonata fetched for him. Other than that, probably the best way to use him is cards like Gyro or Aloe, the 1-cost Aloe. Cards that cost 1 and have a handy ability when they come into play and then aren't very useful anymore. You're probably better just putting that friend on a giant Sombra, right? I mean, you're not losing any power, and it's cheaper to move Sombra than it is to move Sombra and also Aloe. So, friends like that are actually pretty ideal. Also, if the opponent happens to out of action one of your friends or whatever, and for some reason didn't hit Sombra, or maybe you played Sombra afterwards, cards with detrimental resources on them are also a good target for Sombra, especially if they've basically become not helpful or even harmful. Like if the opponent puts a what are those called? Ridiculous outfits on your own friend. Chances are you don't want to put that as a problem, but Sombra can help you with that. Other than that, it's not really much strategy with him. He's basically an all-in strategy. You just want to put lots of stuff on him. Appaloosa is probably a really good idea if you're going to use Sombra, because then they can't dismiss or frighten him, though they can, of course, dress him up or banish him, or well, I guess dressing up wouldn't do much, but out of action. Let's see. So yeah, he's definitely a card. To be perfectly honest, he is one of my least favorite ultra rares. I don't think I would ever use him if given the choice, but he's there. And some people do like him, and he can get to ridiculous power levels, and that is kind of cool. On the other hand, a similar effect is Trouble Shoes, who just gets really big the moment you play him, and has a very similar feel. Of course, Trouble Shoes is pink and orange, so if you're not in those colors, maybe you'd rather have Sombra. But yeah, I think that's it for gameplay here. So let's talk about the flavor of this card. Slave Driver. I mean, he very much is in the show, but it's kind of a dark concept for MLP, don't you think? Like slavery? That's scary stuff. When they actually showed that, like in the finale of last season, that was, yeah, that's definitely a thing, and kind of scary. Speaking of which, you know, King Sombra, Crystal Empire, season premiere. It's like it was planned. Okay, complete coincidence, but kind of nice to have sort of a tie-in. Though of course, a Cadence would have been a better tie-in, or Shining Armor, or Jewel Joy. Yeah, don't bother looking up Jewel Joy. She's the entry crystal friend, the pink one with random. Not terribly a good card. But yeah, so Sombra. Really tricky to use well, and even when you do use him well, he doesn't give you terribly much benefit. But he can be a lot of fun, and I've nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. People who enjoy using Sombra, power to you. I can get behind the idea of liking cards with lots and lots of power. That's one of Flitter's most favorite things, of course, just heaping on the power. And as someone who has played a 20 plus power troubleshoes, yeah, I get that. That is a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that's about it for King Sombra. Oh wait, this was who was this submitted by? Give me just a second. This was submitted by Darkwolf660. Yeah, thank you for that. And next time we will be moving on to Applejack Tree Whisperer by King Utopia. Yeah, I love this card. It's going to be great. See you next time, guys.